Starting a bookkeeping business can sometimes be, well, a little scary. You might be new to working for yourself, or you might have been winging it for a while. Maybe you've got a little side hustle bookkeeping business going on. Either way, you don't have to go it alone. I'm Lynn Talbot, and I've scaled and sold a 7-figure bookkeeping business, and I've been where you are now. I know the problems you're facing, and I want to share what I had to learn the hard way to help you on your journey. So follow along and let's get your bookkeeping business where you want it to be. Welcome to the Better Bookkeeper Show, where we help you become a better bookkeeper with practical tips and sound advice. This is part 2 of how to get your mind set on growth. So if you didn't hear part 1 and Ashley's introduction, you can certainly go back and hear part 1. But in part 1, we talked about, are you ready to grow? How do you prepare your mind to be an entrepreneur? And are you willing to change to be a lifelong learner? Those are the 3 main goals that we talked about. And today we'll be talking about, developing your growth mindset, how to unlock your potential and just achieve greater success. So, can you manifest success? We're going to be talking about manifesting success today, your personal development toward that mindset shift, and then increasing your confidence with that mindset shift. So when we talk about mindset shift, we mean changing your mind, changing the way you think about running your bookkeeping company. Instead of working on it, just doing the books every day for clients, you're going to be stepping up and looking at it from a 10,000-foot view. How can I manage this company, and how can I set it up to be successful and make more money, grow the business, but also shift my mind from working in the business to working on the business? What is the end goal? We're also going to talk about what's the end goal. What is your end goal? Where do you want to be in 5 years from now? So, welcome to the show, Ashley, LaMar-Morris. We are your tour guides today. We want to send you on to greatness, and we hope you won't get stuck at where you are, because now is the time to grow. We'll do a quick recap of the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. Ashley, do you want to help us talk a little bit more about just a recap real quick of these 2 items?
Yeah, so last podcast we had talked about fixed mindset versus growth mindset. A lot of people might find themselves in a fixed mindset, which says that I am who I am and I'm not going to change. But we learned that the growth mindset says you can change who you are, and you do that by something called reframing, which is the idea that you take a negative thought and replace it with a positive action item that helps you overcome that negative thought. So something like, I'm bad at sales is a fixed mindset, and you can reframe that and say, well, sales is a skill, and I learned bookkeeping, I can learn sales. And we also learned that a fixed and growth mindset is not just for entrepreneurs. It's very important to practice your reframing and growth mindset in all areas of your life, because it'll spill over into everything that we do. It's valuable in every area of your life.
Yes, that's a great recap there. So the growth mindset can be a difference between staying stuck where you are in your bookkeeping company or growing and building a thriving business, maybe to 7 figures, right? So the benefits of a growth mindset, we talked a little bit about this on the last podcast, but we're just going to reiterate it again. So personal development, it will help you, as we talked about, help you in your personal life, give you more personal satisfaction if you are of a growth mindset. You're a lifelong learner. I think I can, is what you're saying to yourself inside your head. If you had to give yourself a little pep talk every day, I can do this. I think I can. You'll also find you'll have increased resilience and able to adapt to change easier if you're always open-minded and you have that growth mindset. Self-confidence will come with that. And then just overall happiness when you achieve any of those milestones. Some folks call it mindfulness. Some folks might want to say, meditate on it a few minutes a day, but giving yourself like a self-talk is a great way to get yourself pumped up. What am I going to do today? Lynn's ready to, take on all the challenges that I have, today. I tend to be a really positive person. I always have been, even as a small child, just always look at the glass half full. And so it's easy for me to see the positive things in people, but I understand that for some people, that's a little bit harder just based on their life experiences and the way their mind has been, their mind works and the way their mind, they grew up. And Ashley talked a little bit last time about neuroplasticity. We've got to get that mind to change. We've got to get it moved just a little bit. So here are some affirmations. Ashley, I think, came up with a lot of these. I have what it takes. What are some of the other ones, Ashley, that you can think of, affirmations to give ourselves?
Yeah, so affirmations, I would say really need to be personalized for them to work. Just repeating in the mirror, I am smart, I am deserving. Like for me, that doesn't really help. It might help you if it's generic, but for it to really be powerful, in my opinion, the best way to make this just super effective is to find the areas in your own thinking where you are overly negative or where you feel self-conscious. So sometimes I feel self-conscious that I don't have an accounting degree. As I said previously, my bachelor's degree is in psychology. So a negative thought I might have is, why should a client even come to me to do their books, to advise on your business? What business do I have, even being a business advisor, when my degree is in psychology and not finance? So for me, an affirmation looks something like, I have the experience and the capability to advise my clients expertly. I think too, an affirmation can be reminding yourself, reminding. That word is intentional here, but reminding your mind of something that you have accomplished that you're proud of. So if with on the times that I'm feeling kind of less than, I can remind myself, hey, I just helped an LLC business merge with an S Corp that is international. That's pretty cool. And when you put it, you think you're just opening up QuickBooks, clicking in bank feeds and adding transactions. But when you stop and you give yourself that 10,000 foot view, Lynn, that you were talking about, and looking at what you're doing, I help, technology get from Europe to the United States to people who are blind that help them see. This is one of my clients. That's pretty cool. I get to make a difference in people's lives that don't even know my name. So make your affirmations really personal. Hit your own weaknesses where it hurts, because that's the place that you need sharpening in your mind.
Yes, I love that. There'll always be someone who doesn't believe in your worth or doesn't believe in you, but don't let that be yourself. And
Exactly.
if there's somebody else that doesn't believe in you, poof, gone with you. You know what I mean? Don't hang around with them. And you just need to reframe that. But don't be your own worst enemy by being a self-fulfilling prophecy by saying, I can't do this. I don't know. I'm too tired. I'm not smart enough. I'm not deserving. I don't have an accounting degree. Yeah. Most bookkeepers don't have an accounting degree, and they can learn this skill because maybe when you were in college, it didn't appeal to you, but now it does, so
That's right. Yep.
it's really, yeah. So a lot of our listeners are in that same boat and may not have any college degree at all, but they're learning through doing. And then the main thing is learning and building upon your building blocks. You're setting those blocks up. Like you said, you may work for a company for a while. Learn what you need to learn there. And then when you can't learn anything else, and the person is putting roadblocks in front of you, and you're like, I've learned all I can do at this little company. I can't grow anymore, kind of getting bored. That's the time you leave and you move somewhere else to learn another skill that will help you in bookkeeping. Yeah. And if it's
Become proficient in Googling, and getting good links. Not everything that you Google, Google, I think, is getting less and less reliable in its results. So it's learning how to be, how to find the information that you need. Remembering as a bookkeeper that our ultimate governing agency is the IRS. Everything about the IRS is free and available online. And if you don't understand an IRS article, then there's even AI that can summarize it for you. So copy and paste something like what's the meals and entertainment allowance for business? And the IRS will say things like, it should not be lavish and it should be reasonable. Well, what does that mean? So
right.
copy and paste that article. You can put it in Chat GPT and say, I've got a client, they're gross. Don't put any like specific client information in Chat GPT, but you can say something like, I have a client that makes X in gross revenue and spends X in meals and entertainment. Would this be a red flag for the IRS? And ChatGPT will be pretty reliable at that kind of thing.
Yes.
So use that to your advantage and be sure you use good sources. Everyone out there is trying to sell you something these days, so be very careful of that.
And a lot of
What
misinformation.
payroll software is best? Well, Patriot says it's them and Gusto says it's them, but what really would be the best for your client?
And when you change your mindset, you change the way you approach problems. Just like Ashley was saying, when you have a problem, you're looking for a solution. Get good at doing that research. If you have a closed mindset, you just go poof and you move on. You just go, I've always done it that way, or you just slap out an answer. Right? That's the old way of doing things. The new way is going out and changing the way you approach solving problems. So how do we get motivated to do that, right? It's so much easier just to stay where we are. It's easier to stay stuck. And you might not even know you're stuck. You're just there and you're just working and you're working hard, but you're not growing. You have to tell yourself or ask yourself, do you want financial freedom? Are you learning from your mistakes? Are you really learning from your mistakes? Are you chalking them up and saying, gosh, I'll never do that again, and then learning from those, building those foundation blocks? Think about your life. You have one life to live. You are living it right now. It is going to end at some point. We don't know when, but you have one life to live. If you want to spend it, getting stuck and then regretting that you could have grown your business and then maybe retired early, that's something I don't want anybody to go through. I want you to think about how you're going to get your financial freedom. What are you going to do with your life? Change is hard, but it can be good. It can be so good. And stop putting off the things that you could do today to make those changes. Now, a lot of times people will say, well, Lynn, you just say grow. Well, how am I supposed to grow if I don't know, how to do, if I don't know like how to get clients, like how do you just get clients? How do they just appear? I don't understand how you can just grow if you just, can't, if you don't have clients. So that's one of the things we'll talk about too, is stop putting off your marketing. That's one of the motivating things you need to do right away, is find somebody to help you do marketing. If you don't want to go to Chamber of Commerce meetings, if you're not a out there kind of person, you do need to figure out how to get clients. I get clients through CPA referrals. That is one of the best ways that you can get clients. And we have a whole program on how to do that. How do you go from one person to a team? Like when you start hiring people, what if I don't have enough, work for them to do? Well, you have to work through that. You're going to hire part-time people, hire people who maybe just want a couple of clients. Maybe they've got their own and they just want a couple more clients, work with people like that. But now's the time to lay that foundation on how you will grow and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Maybe you just want to hire 2 people. After you hire 2 people and they're working about 30 hours a week for you, that will give you a lot of financial freedom. You'll be able to step back and not work in the client files anymore, but just do the books review and work on the client's file and on the business, not in the client file so much. But it's hard to get motivated, right? So what are some tips that we have for like getting that growth mindset going? Like today, what can we do today to get that growth mindset going? What are some of your thoughts, Ashley?
Well, we kind of talked about this in part one in more depth, but I'm going to kind of recap this and talk about it again. But the step one and how to get a growth mindset is learning in the areas of your mind where you're currently fixed. You can't change what you don't know that you need to change. It's kind of like us bookkeepers. We would not advise anything about our clients without looking at a profit and loss first and comparing it to last year. You don't know where you're going unless you know exactly what you're doing right now. So maybe today, step one, if you're listening today and you think, wow, I am sometimes kind of negative. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for acknowledging that. So, the good thing is, neuroplasticity exists and you can change. This is your step one. So step one to me really is, get a piece of paper and a pencil and write down anytime you find yourself it's going to come to you automatically. You're not going to be aware of it. You have to intentionally go looking for it. Think about a thought that you have that is negative when it comes up and write it down, and then think about how to reframe it. You kind of have to attack. Everyone is different. Everyone is unique, and you have to attack your own fixed mindset uniquely. And if you're struggling with thinking of a growth mindset statement for your fixed mindset thought, you can contact, Lynn Talbot's mentoring group. We can certainly help you, or pop it into Chat GPT. Hey, Chat GPT, I'm trying to come up with a growth mindset and I'm thinking, I don't know how to get clients. Can you help me reframe this? And that can help you too.
That's a great idea. That is. So one of the things we talk about too is just to strive for happiness, not necessarily perfection. As accountants, we're always wanting to be perfect. It is hard to not be a perfectionist when you're an accountant. I have those tendencies too, and those aren't bad tendencies to have. To want to be, you would want your accountant to be, a perfectionist. You want them to be very accurate, right? But try to strive for just happiness. That's hard. What makes you happy? I don't know. Just get out there and do it. Embrace your challenges, step out of your comfort zone, review your challenges and opportunities. Anytime you have an opportunity to grow, look at that as an opportunity to grow. Visualize yourself stepping out of your comfort zone. Ask and accept for constructive feedback. That is huge. If you are not ready to receive feedback from a CPA or from a mentor or from a client, you're not going to grow. I will tell you, one of the wisest women gave me this quote: don't ask for feedback that you're not willing to listen to. Because if I tell my clients, I used to do this once a year, I would put out, maybe even twice a year, I would put out an email. I would say, hey, client, hope you're doing well. I would do it in like July when things were kind of slow, and I needed something to do. I'd love to know more about how we're doing or how Ashley's doing in your books. We strive for perfection, but hit that reply button and tell us how we're doing. And, I thought everything was just going to be like, oh, we love you. Everything's perfect. And that's what we all would hope. And most of the time it was. But when I would see something that somebody would kind of, say, well, matter of fact, this happened. And I thought, oh, my God, that is so incredibly minor compared to this huge save we just had. We saved you from the IRS by like doing all this stuff last year. And you're complaining because something that really isn't even anything that we do. But you take that and you are like, thank you so much for telling me about that. And you don't internalize it, but you take and use it as a learning lesson. So don't ask for feedback if you're not willing to take it, but you need to learn, from your feedback. You need to learn how to take constructive feedback and use it to improve. You can't grow if you don't take feedback, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to add to this and say that one thing that I like to do is when I send year-end reports to my clients' CPAs, I'll send the report and put in the email, here's the reports as is. If you see anything that we can be doing better in 2025, the current year, please let me know. I would love to meet with you. Here's a link to my Calendly. Make yourself open and available to them and let them know you're not one of those bookkeepers who say, well, we've always done it this way. We talked about that, I think, in part 1. You have to take the phrase, we've always done it this way, out of your vocabulary. Don't get in that fixed mindset. Be willing to do something different. So, like for me, I did that this year, and the CPA responded with stop handling bill payments on a cash basis through the bank feeds.
Oh,
So you know what that means for me? A lot more work.
yes.
But,
Enter a bill every time now.
yeah, I have to enter a bill, the bill date, and then pay the bill. We match the bill through the bill payment instead of adding it just as an expense. But I asked, and that's what the CPA said, and that's what I'm following. I'm committed to following through with what I say, even if I don't like the answer, like you
Right.
said.
Right. That's a good example of like, now I have a little bit more work to do. But if it makes a difference in their taxes, then that makes sense. Seek to grow and learn, and that's what you need to do every day. Grow and learn every day, and that's the only way to grow your business is to learn. But you've also got to like look at what's the industry doing. Not just what you are doing or what your clients are doing, but where's the industry going? How is AI working inside QuickBooks Online? You've all seen it, right? Every time you open up a bill or a bill payment or expense, there's that little AI, little bot thing coming up and wanting to. With its magic wand, wanting to wave around and do something magical. But you do need to embrace that. It is what it is. And the better bookkeepers are embracing AI. And there are ways to do that and be successful. So
I feel like we can have a whole podcast topic on AI and the accounting industry. But yes, people say like AI in QuickBooks is not a new thing. It is not a new thing. It has been in QuickBooks for years. So if this is something you're all of a sudden scared about, I would challenge that as a fixed mindset. AI has been around. It's not going to take your job. And in fact, there's many ways that we are better than AI and continue to be and will always be. So,
yes.
you know,
AI is not going to take the bookkeeping job. It's just going to help us. The bookkeepers that are using AI are going to be able to get ahead and work smarter and faster than the ones that are not using AI. So yeah, AI can do some analysis for you, all kinds of things. But you're right. QuickBooks has been using a little bit of AI in the background for years, especially in those bank feeds,
Yes, in the bank feeds especially. And so when going back to my last example, when the CPA said, yes, we need you to start doing bills and bill payments, it was a little easier for me because QuickBooks does have that receipt center. So I upload, the client sends me the bills, I upload them into the receipt center, and that AI can grab the vendor, it'll grab the date, it'll even grab a description of the invoice. And it's not perfect, it'll put in $99 as $99,000. And that's where we come in and make sure the decimal is in the right place and add a memo line that makes more sense versus what QuickBooks wants to put in there. For example, invoice from the bookkeeper's coach. That's not great. You want to put bookkeeping advice or whatever more personal to you. But like you said, Lynn, it's there to help us.
Mm-hmm. And those of us who embrace the new technology are the ones that are going to get ahead. I mean, QuickBooks Online, when it came on, I was one of the first people to use it. And, it wasn't that fantastic when it came out, right? It had a lot of problems. But I've probably moved, I would say, at least 600 clients, maybe 700 clients from desktop to QBO over the last 10 years. It could be 1,000. I don't even really know how many I've moved over. And only one went back to desktop out of all of that. So it can be done, but it was scary. And that was something, it was scary for me because then I had to make sure all of the data was correct. But you're right, being able to change your mindset and saying, I'm going to embrace technology and just, rip off the Band-Aid and go to QBO. I remember when my practice moved from desktop to QBO, I was very nervous, but I thought if I'm asking my clients to do this, then I need to do this. And so, syncing with Venmo and PayPal and all of that, like it's all new, it's there. It's just a certain way to do it. But as we work through all of these goals that you have and trying to get your mind shifted into how to grow your business, how to be an entrepreneur, how to manage your business. You want to work with the end in mind. Now, I didn't always know what I wanted to do with my business. I just thought I would work until I got tired of working, which is kind of what I did. I thought maybe, one of my kids might want to take over my business, but they were like, no, Mom, we're not interested in that. So I did end up, selling it. But I still love it so much that I come back to teach other people how to do their business. And I realize I still have a lot more knowledge to give, but work with the end in mind. Think about where you want to be in 5 years or 10 years, depending on just where you are in your life, maybe 2 years, define your long-term vision and think about your exit strategy. When I'm coaching any entrepreneur, new business entrepreneurs, I always ask them, well, what is your exit strategy? And they'll look at me like, I haven't even started my business yet, or I just launched it, Lynn, come on. It's like, no, you have to launch with the idea of having an exit strategy. Same thing with having a bookkeeping company. If you'd like to eventually merge with somebody else or just hire an operations manager and kind of bow out and just have them run it, or you want to sell it, those are the things that you need to know, because you need to get processes in place to make that transition, that exit strategy, smooth. You cannot sell a bookkeeping firm that is 100% dependent on you, right? You have to slowly start getting yourself out so the bookkeeping firm can run on its own with the employees or with other employees. And you have to consider your legacy. Like, what do you want to leave with? How are you going to do your financial planning for the future? Do you want to retire early? Do you want to just work to your 70? Totally fine. You can make a lot of money doing bookkeeping, but you can also run yourself ragged. I know both of those, both of those issues, but helping you build a strong foundation to get there is key. So knowing where you're going, your exit strategy, and then having a plan to try to get there. One of the things you want to say right now is, how much money do I want to take home this year? How much money do I want to take home next year? What is that number? And is that number bigger? It should be bigger if you're in a growth mode. And if you are an entrepreneur with that fire in your belly that says, I want to grow, that number should be bigger. How about the next year? Should it be bigger? Are we growing at 10%, 15%? What are we doing? What is the top line that we have to have? In other words, how many sales do we have to have dollar-wise in order to get to the bottom, to get that money that I want to take home after all the dust has settled? So how did you get there? And what would you do differently if you were going to keep your business for 5 years or 15 years? Do you think that in just 7 short years you could bill 7 figures? You can. What if you were able to take a third of that home every year? That would be amazing. So think about your end goal and how you want to get there. Now, there's bumps along the way. We all know that, right? It's not a straight line. It's never a straight line, but it is nice to have that exit strategy that will help shift your mind on the goal, the goal, the goal. I used to always tell my kids when they were in high school and all the high school drama and all that stuff, I would just say, the goal is college. It's not graduating from high school. The goal is college. And if you set your mind on the goal, it's a lot easier to kind of put up with the things that come in between it, set your mind on the goal. So, Ashley, what are some other things we can talk about potential opportunities, or just recapping?
Yeah, read books, listen to podcasts. Chances are, if you are listening to this, you're probably already a step ahead of the game. But listen to accounting podcasts, read books, get into webinars. This all kind of helps you with that continual learning thing. And as far as in my opinion, the best way to keep practicing this growth mindset is learn to practice it outside of just a professional setting. Bring a growth mindset to your relationships, your personal relationships, and how you deal with your spouse and your children. And like Lynn said, you didn't know it at the time, Lynn, but you were teaching your kids, how to set goals and how to get there. A lot of people's parents didn't teach them that. So, they're already a step ahead of the game there. Write it down, and be prepared to change it. Don't get stuck in analysis paralysis, as Lynn said last podcast. I love that. I myself have been a victim of that because I love a good spreadsheet and a budget. And of course, we don't want to start things until we feel 100% prepared, but you can't do that. That's a lie sometimes, which is not to say go out and wing it, but remember that skills can be learned, and your attitude, while also can be learned, really determines whether you'll be successful more than your skills. You might be able to reconcile a bank, sure, but can you talk to a CPA? Are you talking kindly to yourself? Do you know how to email well? These are things that will carry you farther than simply clicking that green reconcile button.
Right, right. And having those soft skills as well as the hard skills is something that's going to help you grow your business. The confidence in your marketing, being able to just figure that out, writing down your plans. We talked about writing down your goals. Just going ahead and setting some goals. They can be small. I would prefer that they be small. Just set 3 goals for this next 3 months, next 90 days. Lynn, here are the 3 things that I want to do, even if it's just 2, but you want to feel comfortable that you can succeed on those goals, that you can work on those goals, and you can make them pretty specific, not just general. Make them specific, and they can have little subcategories, points that you need to meet along the way. Some of the things you also can meet with a mentor, and that will help get your mind set. If your mind is racing and you're so busy working and it's tax season and clients are calling you from everywhere, you haven't had time to interview someone, or you hired someone, but maybe you just don't feel comfortable turning over everything because that's hard, right? We like our clients and we're afraid to turn everything over. That's a mindset that's going to keep you stuck in your old ways. But start looking for little opportunities that present themselves every day. Which of these opportunities are opportunities that you can expand on, that you can learn from, and that you can grow from? And if you're ready to embrace being proactive about putting the seeds in place to grow your firm, then you will find yourself growing there more by setting your goals. Am I approaching all my challenges with an open mindset? Or do I have a fixed mindset? I think if you just go back to that fixed mindset and growth mindset every day, you'll know it too. You'll be like, oh, there I go again. I need to grow. I need to grow. So let me leave you with this thought right here. So where will you be in 1 year? You'll be 1 year older, right? And so will I. What are you waiting for? Time is going to pass anyway. So you might as well start thinking about how to grow your bookkeeping firm, how to grow your mind, how to get that growth mindset going, how to get unstuck and make decisions that will change your life. Don't get stuck in your mind saying, oh, I can't achieve that, or I can't do that, or I don't know what I'm doing. You can start looking at your business from that 10,000 feet high and see where you are and where you need to grow to get there. So take a deep breath, think your positive thoughts, and go write down your goals. I'm Lynn Talbot, the Bookkeepers Coach. If you like what you're hearing today, hit that subscribe button.